So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And what a brilliant Aston Villa comeback win. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. But was that goal to win it perfect? It fucking can't even speak. It very well may be a perfect goal because Aston Villa go on another historic game, another comeback win, a game whereby after 29 seconds we were 1-0 down. We come back, we make it 1-1, we go 2-1 down again, and Villa were sloppy today, don't get me wrong, and we will talk about that in a moment. But come at the hour, come at the man. That second half belongs to Morgan Rogers. A goal on the 49th minute and an absolute banger then on the 79th minute to win that game. XG, what XG? I'm being facetious with regards to that, but you guys will know how I feel about XG being used as a standing point on singular games and on singular moments. We are now seeing a team absolutely blow XG, and we are an outlier. I absolutely understand that. We're blowing that out of the realms of I suppose rationality currently at the moment with goals like Morgan Rogers just scored, and I think that's absolutely fine. Aston Villa are the ultimate process team in English football at the moment. I'm going to make that I don't know whether it's a bold statement, but I'm going to make that statement. We are the ultimate process team. We stick to the process with regards to Unai Emery. There were some bad parts today. This team had to overcome an incredibly underperforming whole right side of their team today, who were just blown away by West Ham for a lot of parts in this game, specifically Crescencio Somerville, and we'll get to that in a moment. But Unai Emery has instilled a mentality within this team, and those players have instilled a mentality amongst each other that they can get back in games, that they can come back and win games. And there is nobody watching the stream that can convince me, and I don't think anybody would even go about trying to convince anybody on this, that last year's Aston Villa would have won that game, because it just would not have happened. Or that last year's Aston Villa would have won the game versus Brighton. It just would not have happened. I'd even go so far as to say as that last year's Aston Villa would have won the game against Leeds. I'd be dubious as to whether that would have happened. But there are just three games that come to mind that Unai Emery has instilled a process that even if we go one down, I said this team is been built to win 2-1. We're being built to potentially concede, but to score 2 goals and hopefully defend. Obviously today we won 3-2, but we had to come back to do that. And that's what I kind of meant as well with this 2-1 process as well, that we're built to overcome, or he wants this team, or this team, he's aware this team will have to overcome situations, because we've had, outside of the Liverpool game, I would go so far as to say, since we've been on this run, and it's not just because we lost that game, but that was one game where we didn't really get back into it. And when we went 1-0 down, we went 2-0 down specifically, we never looked like we were going to threaten Liverpool after that. But every other game we have, and every other game we've done something that's been able to drag us back into it. Some people, there's 2 ways you can look at this narrative. You can look at it as it's unsustainable, which people obviously always look at. Or you can look at it as that we are the ultimate process team. We're the team that believe, like, you can call this, these players are in a cult. They're in a cult of Unai Emery currently at the moment, whereby they're doing things above what they should be doing, outside the conventional realm of rationality in a lot of ways, if that's what you want to call XG, based on its historical actual world applications that it's been drawn from. And they're doing it because they believe in this process, and they believe in this essentially the game plan, or this prophecy, whatever you want to call it, without going down the divinity route that Unai Emery has brought in. And yeah, it was unpretty in times. Like the sloppiness from against Reconza had one of his poorest games in Aston Villa shirt today. Matty Cash wasn't as assured today. Boubacar Kamara was looking at to be sent off when he got that yellow card, and then when he pulled back Mateus Fernandez, we went into the corner and he pulled back Mateus Fernandez shorts. Like, that was a clear pullback. Other refs could have booked him, given him a second yellow card, sent him off there. You know, so we were unstructured, or they went to hammer our right-hand side, which was the perceived strength of our team, essentially. Well, the strength of our defense, really. And we spoke an awful lot about Lindelof at the start, but we spoke about Lindelof in the team sheet tantrum, should I say, but he wasn't an issue today. The issues came from our right-hand side. And that's fine. That's fine. These players have played a lot of games. You know, they played a lot of games, and they've played a lot of games in quick succession. They have a week now to go back, rest, recuperate, any niggles that have been at them for a while, get those legs up, get ice on the legs, and come back for Manchester United next weekend. But it's a hell of a lot easier to do that when you have Morgan Rogers scoring thunder bastards from 35 yards and Villa win 3-2 after coming back from being down not once, but twice in this game. And the negatives will be dealt with by the manager. They absolutely will be. Obviously, the first goal we conceded was absolutely hapless. It was just completely and utterly, like, there is one person to blame. He knows he's to blame. It was a massive, massive mistake. It was a big error leading to a big chance and ultimately a goal. The second goal, Ezri Konsa doesn't get out. It doesn't get out quick enough. I know he was on the floor or whatever. Yeah, Jared Bowen, like, the rest of the defense moves. Konsa was so far behind. I suppose a smart player would have rolled off the field in that instance, but who wants to do that? I'm not criticizing him for what he did. He got up, he was left there, and he played everybody onside. Just an unfortunate situation. Gets a leg to it and goes in the back of the net. Not blaming Ezri Konsa for that one. Certainly not. Not blaming Ezri Konsa, but outside of those two sloppy situations, really, I thought, you know, we had a lot more of the possession. I think we had about 60% possession. And like, the two goals that Morgan Rogers got in the second half, we were very good for those goals, I thought. West Ham will be aggrieved. There may be West Ham fans in the comments here going, you guys were lucky today and you got away with one. And yeah, look, you can talk about that. When you go down twice away to anybody in the Premier League, you know, and when you take your reprieve through an own goal, Watkins gets a touch and it hits off Mavropanos, goes in the back of the net. Just when your luck's out for West Ham in that instance. Brings it back to 1-1. Then West Ham go 2-1 up after 25 minutes, I think it was, or 30 minutes. I think it might have been when Bowen sticks his leg out. And at that stage, you know, if you're a West Ham fan, you think we should be able to garner some sort of positivity from this and go on and win this game, especially being at home. And you know, the players are good enough in that West Ham team. So if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be thinking, look, we shouldn't lose from this situation. Maybe Villa were a bit lucky. But once again, they're the two narratives. Like, you know, this team is in a process. It's not like this is the first time this has happened to Aston Villa. We do concede goals. We go down. And we haven't been able to put it together in previous years about coming back from going a goal down. But this year we are. And that's why people are flabbergasted. That's why. And is there a list of instructions on how to do that? There bloody well isn't. There isn't. But we're doing it. And we're doing it because the players, again, I go back again to the start of the season when it was seen as a negative that Unai Emery was fielding teams with 7, 8, 9 players that were brought in by Dean Smith and Steven Gerrard. And that was seen as a negative. But the collective belief in the process and what Unai Emery is putting in here, and I don't like using the word process, and I have it in the title here as well, but the reason I don't like using it is because I think it's often overused for very simplistic situations. It's a buzzword. But in this instance, it actually fits true because it's like to play for Unai Emery is an indoctrination in the game of football. It's his way, and it's probably taken 3 years for the team to fully believe and to be fully confident in themselves to do it. We're as I say, we are the grey matter and the outlier in rationality at the moment, the way we're doing this. Last minute goals against Arsenal, we don't do that, but we did. Coming back from 2 goals down against Brighton, we didn't do that in 20 years, but we did. Within 9 games in a row, we don't do that, but we have. Winning 10 games out of 11, that's not an Aston Villa thing to do, but it is. And all these things kind of blow. And I'm not talking about this about winning a league or anything like that. I'm talking about this in the merits of where this team are and why they're doing it, and more so the conversation about it and sustainability, and the conversation about, what the data says about what should be happening. And this isn't happening. It's like, this is the blip in the seismograph. And may it come back to the mean in the second half of the season? We hope not. And time will tell. But at what stage does the data show, or can the data ever show, whereby this process is working and the players are believing in it and the players are trusting it and playing through this process, and it's breaking down other teams? Because I'd go so far as to say that Brighton and today and the Leeds game are proof positive. And there's probably other ones in there, that I'm neglecting. Arsenal could be argued. We went 1-up, 1-all, came back, and I know it was a last-minute screwball scramble in the box or whatever. Can there ever be proof positive of it, I wonder, with regards to what I'm talking about here? The process being trusted, and the players being so focused on the process and getting the right players to fit into that process is leading to these comeback wins. Because it's not been an Aston Villa thing before. But it is now. And long may it continue. Long may it continue. So, sorry, that was an 11-minute soliloquy about going down the lines. There was a bit of divinity thrown in there. There was a bit of philosophy thrown in there. And there was a smart little bit of data analytics thrown in there as well. So if you've all haven't fallen asleep on that one, let's get to discussing the game in itself. Because, as I said, the right-hand side had a tough day today. Crescencio Somerville came to play football, as did Mateus Fernandes. They came to play football today, as did Malik Diouf. Malik Diouf's a fine player. Malik Diouf is a very, very good footballer. And I think that he's somebody that, if West Ham are to go down, I think he's going to make his third move in 3 years, because he's had a meteoric rise through Slavia Prague and so on. Meteoric rise. Nice footballer. But obviously, the first goal comes from the point of view of Ezri Konsa dawdles on the ball. Mateus Fernandes gets onto it, and there's no stopping that shot he puts past Marco Bizzat. If you had two Marco Bizzats, one in his shoulder, he probably wouldn't have stopped that again. So it was a fantastic goal. But Aston Villa down after 29 seconds. And personally, I didn't feel like that was a death knell. It was sloppy. It was right to call it out. I put up an expletive on Twitter with regards to it, because that's what it was. It was a one-person mistake that shouldn't have happened, and it led to a goal after 29 seconds. But Aston Villa come back into the game. They get a small bit more possession. I thought Lindelof was actually really good in possession today. Thought he was really good in possession. I thought that the pivot of Onana and Kamara were working to a good degree when they had the ball at their feet. Out of possession, I had a bit of concern about it, because they found themselves isolated at times. And, Kamara getting the yellow card wasn't exactly great for him, because Cash had just got a yellow card, or Kamara got the yellow card, and then Cash got one, I think 2 or 3 minutes later, and that left that right-hand side kind of open to being attacked. But we get back on level terms. Cross comes in. Ollie Watkins goes for it. I think it just barely clips his head. It goes on to Mavropanos into the back of the net. The lifeline Aston Villa need. And what was that? I'm actually going to pull it up here. What time was that goal? That was at 9 minutes. So we're 9 minutes into the game, and we've seen 2 goals against West Ham. And you think the game's going to calm down, and it kind of did. And Villa got their foot in the ball, and they played around with it a small bit. And they had lots of possession at that stage. But then the ball, or that shot comes in from Potts. It was a grand shot, but it was not really to write home about. Would have been easily saved by the goalkeeper. But as I say, there had been a bit of a scramble in the back in the penalty area. Konsa had gone down. He was getting up, and in the process of getting back up and trying to come back out he plays Bowen on. Could you say that Cash and Lindelof should have been aware that Konsa wasn't in the line with them? They were looking at who was on the right-hand side, and they were all moving together. And they actually moved really well. They moved. They would have probably caught Jared Bowen offside. It would have been a marginal offside at that stage. But Bowen has all the time in the world to stick out a leg and put it in the back of the net. We go down 2-1. And at that point, so after the first goal, I wasn't that worried. I said, okay, I think Villa are going to play their way back into this, because I've seen it happen so far. After the second one, I'm like, that's maybe our luck isn't in this one today. And then we go in at 2-1 down, and I'm kind of like, could have done with getting one back before halftime if we're going to win this. So I was kind of getting onto the levels of, maybe we might have to settle for a draw on this one at halftime. But then we come out, and Morgan Rogers gets the goal in 49 minutes. And at that stage, I was like, We haven't even brought on our so-called bomb squad, and what I mean by that is in the rugby term, the squad that comes on to kind of lift everything up. The Buendias, the Malin substitution. We hadn't even done that yet. And I went, this bodes well for Aston Villa. But there was a period of time then in the ensuing 10, 15 minutes. We once again dominated possession, but the West Ham held a threat down their right-hand side, their left-hand side, our right-hand side. And they held a big threat down that side as well. And through the whole game, we were vulnerable down that side. As I say, we had Konza on that side had already given away a goal from essentially from the kickoff. We had Cash on a yellow card. We had Kamara on a yellow card. And we had John McGinn, who was doing an awful lot of chasing, but didn't really have the same effect on this game as he had in other games. So that right-hand side there, our right-hand side was, they had really, really, they really started to target that specifically. And I think it was to do with the 2 yellow cards in the first half. I think it was as well. So they just let Crescencio Somerville go hatchet down that wing. And he did. And there was a couple of times when he got in there and he had a shot at one stage to hit the side netting, and he had a shot that was blocked. And they had a corner from Jarrod Bowen at one stage whereby if they even had a man standing on the back post, he would have had the easiest finish to try and stick it in the back of the net. So there was a couple of times whereby they will look back at it and go, against teams like Villa, we need to be pitch perfect in these areas. And they weren't. And we can say, okay, that's something that we got away with. But on our left-hand side, I thought Ian Maatsen was really good. I thought Rodgers was exceptional today throughout the whole game. I thought he was brilliant at carrying the ball. I thought he stuck to that sideline really well. And do you know what? There was times last year when you saw Rashford do that. He would stick to that sideline, create that width, and carry that ball. And then he would do that to start the game, and then choose his time to come in field. And there was shades of that from Rodgers today. He was really good. And those two, the goal he scored was absolutely testament to his performance. I think he was brilliant. I was Villa's best player today. And the first goal, I'm actually trying to remember what his first goal was. I actually completely forgotten what his first goal was. It was the one where he kind of finished it into the side of the net. I can't really remember it at all. Somebody will tell me in the comments anyway. But he gets the first goal. And I think the reason I can't remember the first goal is because I was too busy celebrating the second goal, because the second goal in 79 minutes was just absolutely brilliant. And people talked about bad goalkeeping for his knuckleball free kick against Leeds, wasn't it? People spoke about, or was it Brighton? I can't remember which one. His knuckleball free kick anyway. People talked about that being lucky. This was an absolute howitzer. It goes up and over the goalkeeper. It went up over the goalkeeper and dropped violently behind him before he even knew it was past him. Like, there was wicked power in that shot. Absolutely wicked power in that shot. And realistically speaking, if Aston Villa don't have 3 or 4 goals in the goal of the season competition, and it isn't even Christmas yet, like, what are we doing? Because we've just scored some absolute pearlers like this. And, if you don't shoot, you don't score. And a goal like that is a throwback to, like, you hear about all these folklore games of Newcastle versus Liverpool, that big score draw, and there were all good goals apparently in that. And, everybody says back in the late 90s and mid 90s, there was better goals scored because goalkeepers weren't as good and the ball was this and that, and you could just strike it from anywhere and it goes in. That was one of those goals today. It was an absolute peach and fitting of winning any game, and it really knocked the stuffing out of West Ham. Really did. And when things aren't going your way, but nobody can really say that was something that didn't go their way, because it was just an absolute peach of a strike. It really, really was. I think that was absolutely superb. And as I said, I hope I've been measured in outside of my 11-minute soliloquy at the start of it, but I hope I've been measured in how I feel the game went, because I do think that West Ham fans will go, when is something going to go our way? When are we going to show up and play 90 minutes of football? And we've been screaming that at times, but we've been getting wins while we're screaming that, and they have not. And they're a better team than 17th in the Premier League, West Ham. They're a better team than that position. They've got a better back four than quite a lot of teams in this league. Except I don't know, like, they're conceding goals, and they're conceding goals like that Morgan Rodgers scored today. So some of them will feel aggrieved. But the Aston Villa train keeps on rolling on. It keeps on rolling on because the players aren't phased and they trust that they can build that ball, whether it's by building it wide, like the first goal came from, albeit through an own goal, or building through the middle, like it was like Morgan Rogers came from. Aston Villa are putting those performances together, and long may it continue, because it's a hell of an exciting game when Aston Villa, or a hell of an exciting season, sorry, should I say, not so much game, it's a hell of an exciting season. When you score goals like that, you're keeping pace with the top of the league. You're keeping distances. And it was important, I think, Villa won today, because when you look at the league, when you look at the actual standings of the league currently, Liverpool winning yesterday, people mightn't say that's a big deal, but Liverpool are in 6th. They're on 26 points. Liverpool are on the same points as Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace lost today. We gained ground on Crystal Palace today, which was fantastic. Chelsea won yesterday. We needed to keep that 5-point buffer zone, because we do play Chelsea and we do play Manchester United, who are on 25 points. So we needed to keep that buffer zone, and we have. We've done our part. We've done our job today, and we've won 3-2. And we now have a 7-point buffer zone before we're knocked out of what will likely be the Champions League positions, because England will get a 5th. If England don't get a 5th place Champions League position, it would be an absolute collapse of all European football, of English teams in all European football competitions, if it doesn't happen now. And Villa have a 7-point buffer between 3rd place and 5th place. Well, 5th, 6th, and 7th, because they're all on the same points. And I think that's all we can really ask for. We have, and we can affect our own buffer zone next week against Manchester United, and we can do it the week after against Chelsea. And guess what? Then when we've dealt with those two, we can affect our point differential between ourselves and the league leaders currently at this moment in time. They could be overtaken at that stage of Arsenal when we play them later on this month. It's a great place to be. It's a place to be whereby we are in control of our fate, and we're also in control of the narrative of the lucky, plucky Aston Villa as well, because we have those 2 games to show our credentials with 7 days in between, which is something we don't get the luxury of having quite often. Only 64 hours between the Basel game and this game today. You guys might have seen that tweet from Damian Vidagani. So when I'm talking about our right-hand side being bulldozed at times today, I'm fully cognizant and fully aware of the context of the fact that they've had 64. Well, and I know that all of them play. I know McGinn came on for a bit, but I'm fully cognizant of the fact that they've only had 64 hours in between those 2 games. Now we get 7 days to prepare for Manchester United, and we take that game next, and then we take the Chelsea game next, and then we see where we are after that. But there's a massive land of possibility here for Aston Villa. There really, really is. With those 2 games, there's a land of possibility here with regards to creating buffer zones and putting ourselves firmly into the top 3 positions. And that would not have been possible unless we won today. Because of the other teams that won yesterday, they dragged themselves closer to us. We've now pushed ourselves further away again with these 3 points. I think that's been pivotal. I'm going to come to some of your comments, and once again, apologies for scrolling down through them, because I couldn't read them all. So Philly, first of all, Joe Walsh says just wow, and Philly Cullen says another one. Rachel says 9 wins in a row isn't bad at all. It absolutely isn't. It's like we have nobody watching this podcast has ever seen us do that in the Premier League. The only time I think somebody said on the broadcast that the only time we've ever done it in the top flight might have been under Graham Taylor back in, what was it, 89? I can't remember when he said it was. So yeah, we're seeing things that have never been done before. Deep is seriously tired. Yeah, there was a lot of frustration in the game. There was a lot of angst in the game, and then there was a lot of excitement and enjoyment as well when Morgan Rogers puts that in the back of the net. Andy Hilly says Rogers is elite. And another win ground out, which is incredible. That's the thing. I'm going to continue to say this. Alex Ferguson made his career out of grinding out wins, grinding out 1-0 wins, 2-1 wins, 2-0 wins, by trusting his process of Alex Ferguson's process was overlapping fullbacks. It was that simple. And when you win 1 title and you win 2 titles and there's an injection of money into the league and you can start to buy the best players that fit into the and then when the players come through your system of having Beckham who can tuck inside and a very good overlapping fullback in Gary Neville there, and you get them for free through your academy system, the world's your oyster. Not denigrating Alex Ferguson, just like I'm not denigrating Unai Emery, but the process is what was followed, and the process got those results. And I'm not sitting here saying that we're going to win 13 Premier League titles or anything like that, but I'm saying that, you know, grinding out wins is a skill in itself, and it's a skill we've wanted for a long, long, long time. So I'm absolutely delighted by that. Where else is it? David says that Villa need a bigger squad. I think every team outside of Chelsea probably wants a bigger squad at the moment. It's tough slog. It's tough sled when you're in Europe and you're flying high there, and now you're flying high in the league to sustain both. We can see that it is a tough slog, and you do need a bit of luck on your side, specifically with injuries. Where else? I'm going to scroll down into the nuts and bolts of this here a minute, guys. White Daniel's calling for the Ballindorgan for Ballindorgan Rogers. Jesus, it took me a while to get that one right, Daniel. Sorry. For everybody at home who got that quicker than I did, I commend you. But yeah, the Ballindorgan Rogers. I can see it now. Where else are we? Richie says, fantastic win. 3 points don't come easy. This team is calm, resilient, wasn't polished, but 3 points in the bag, and I don't care. Yeah, exactly. That could be the new catchphrase. Show me where I'm supposed. Well, we've got 3 points, but show me where I'm supposed to care about the fact that we went 1-0 down and 2-1 down. Yeah, I know. Look, the realistic point of it is, yeah, you can't do that against Arsenal, and we didn't do it against Arsenal. So it's brilliant to see this team has that bit of backbone, balls, metal, whatever you want to call it, bottle. You might want to call it as well. You know, this team has it to come back from being down, whether it's against teams in around us like Brighton, or whether it's against teams that we would perceive to should be beating in West Ham. It's great to see us come back. Where else are we? Scott Taggart says, I think it's fair to say our team has a great mentality, average performance, but we kept fighting 100%. And that's, you know, it's a situation like that in a lot of instances will scare teams below us, because they'll go, God, this team is never beaten, you know? And maybe that's what did it for West Ham. Maybe when we went 2-2 with them, they were like, oh, they're going to come back and win it, aren't they? You know, and the mentality side of things is what obviously affects teams down below in 17th, 18th, 19th, as much as it affects teams in first, second, third, like we are. So like the positivity we're getting from these comeback wins is obviously sticking with our guys and is in here for our guys. But the opposite is true for West Ham. They're thinking, Christ, these boys got a last minute winner against Arsenal. They kept digging in. These guys came back against Brighton, and they gave Brighton a 2-goal head start. You know, so when are they going to click against us? I don't know whether that's true, but you know, it's the mentality factor. It has to play both ways. It can't just play one way, you know, where a team goes, right, we're going to trust this and we're going to win. It has to play both ways as well. And it did, I think, in this game as well. Where else are we? Where else are we? So Jeff says, learning to win when you're not at your best is indeed a rare quality from Aston Villa. Not this year. Gritty, impressive. Rodgers was stunning, and finally rounding into finishing form. We know, absolutely. Jimmy Lassane to St. Villa for the triple in 2025-2026. I don't know if I'm getting that far ahead. Burberry Daddy says, comeback FC. I think that's fair to say. This is a good point as well from Richie Ryan. The game management today was first class. Just to mention Buendia Malin's work rate, their pressing and winning the ball back was fantastic. Malin had an absolute stinger as well of a shot at one stage. Now, I know it was straight down the goalkeeper's throat, but what he brings is that directness. And that's what I was saying with regards to the, you know, when we bring in that bomb squad, and we were 2-2 at this stage before we brought them on, when we bring it on, teams will know the amount of preparation that goes in. They'll go, right, Malin's going to run directly at us. Jesus, I'm wrecked. I've been dealing with John McGinn all day. Like, you know, they bring on Malin on that right-hand side. Would they ever go away? You know? And that goes, like, you can be as professional as you want. And it takes an insatiable amount in the main. It takes an arrogant person to be a professional footballer. Like, you have to believe in your powers. But there's times there whereby you get tired, and you know, I've praised Malik Diouf. I think he's a fine footballer, but we did get him behind him quite a lot. He's great going forward, and we did get him behind him quite a lot in that second half, you know, when we needed to. And it didn't really come to chances, but he came to situations there that when we brought on Malin, he was able to make that run through the middle, have that shot off the goalkeeper's palms, and it creates space other ways. We changed the way we wanted to play, which we've been doing quite a lot this year, and it's reaping benefits, I think. Where else are we here? Tom says as well, Lindelof's composure before Rodgers' winner was great. I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I might have mentioned it already, but I was impressed with Lindelof today. I thought he was very assured. I thought from the point of view of, with the ball at his feet, I made the joke, in the team sheet or in the team sheet tantrum and the post-match podcast after Basel that, he's not the most assured player in the world at times. And then he turns into this fella who's like, right, give me the ball, I'm going forward. I think today he was an even keel of confidence with regards to having the ball at his feet. And once again, I think that comes with starting games and getting used to Unai Emery's system and the players around him as well. So really well done. And Des here echoes it and says he was excellent today. I thought he was really good today. He didn't seem like, remember when we signed him, everybody was like a slow ponderous centre half. What are we going to do with one of those? Didn't seem slow to me today. He was able to. Now I know they didn't have wicked fast people at all. Bowen was more on the right hand side than playing central. I don't even remember Packett's name being mentioned at all. But Lindelof, I thought today marshaled that line really well, and he probably needed to. It was good to have his in the team sheet tantrum as well. I mentioned, I said he's the only other centre half. And Paddy said, what about Bogard? And that's not a wrong thing to say, but after that mistake that Ezri Konsa made, you need having somebody like Victor Lindelof, who's made plenty of mistakes in his time, beside him must have been a good kind of cudgel for him, because Ezri doesn't make mistakes. He came back from it well, Konsa did. And I think that, Lindelof and himself played pretty well today, or Lindelof, who played really well today, helped to take that burden off him as well, which was really, really good. Where else are we? Richie again says Bundia has become one of our most important players. He changes the dynamics of the game. Rodgers was unreal today on and off the ball. I think there's as the year goes on, I think there's going to be games where Bundia is going to be important, and I think there's games where he's going to. I think there's games where teams are going to rough him up. That makes the start of this sound very negative about Bundia, but it's not. But I think that just like there's going to be games whereby Daniel Mallon is going to be able to start up at number 9 and cause them problems, and there'll be games when he won't be able to. It's going to be Unai's big task is going to be able to decipher which games are which, who needs to move, who needs to start when, and who needs to be in that come off the bench role as well. And the two players look like they're happy to be in that come off the bench role, because not only are they getting goals, they're getting assists, they're getting good numbers up, and they're affecting games. It's they've bought into the cult of Unai and the process that comes with it as well, which is fantastic. One or two more comments there, guys, I'll come to as well. RA Venture says, I think the poor window has actually helped us. Continuity is underrated, especially when we play a very specific way. These players all know their jobs. I absolutely agree. However, I will always stand over the fact that you can still play those players. I think we would be in a much better position if we had a better window, i.e. brought in somebody, not brought in Elliott and brought in somebody else that they wanted. Maybe not brought in Sancho and brought in somebody that fitted our style of play a small bit better. And that might be a bit harsh on Jadon Sancho. And have those on the bench looking in and be thinking, well, what does the second half of the season hold for those guys? So, on the flip side of that, it also gives me hope that if we can do some maneuvering, specifically, look, I suppose the elephant in the room, if we can get out from underneath Elliott, not that he's a bad player, this isn't a fuck Harvey Elliott thing or anything like that. It's just not it. He's just not going to get game time. And if we can get him back to Liverpool and then replace him with somebody who will get game time, that puts us in a more exciting position. So I think we have to do business in this January transfer window. Not major business. I think maybe we're one or two players. That's about it. Not break the team momentum at all. But you are right in what you're saying. And I think probably the bigger thing with regards to this is the likes of Bogard coming into this team takes an awful lot of pressure off. Like, he's a player from the academy that's growing into the role and progressing all the time. We've needed something like that. I also think the fact that Onana is now staying fit and playing in there with Kamara, it's giving us those options that we didn't have last year. We certainly didn't have the year before. And they're surprising and they're nice options to have. So yeah, you're right, and the continuity can be seen for sure. And as I say, the fitting into what Unai Emery wants, and again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say it. If you hear anybody say about the Dean Smith 7 or 8 players that were signed under Dean Smith are still in this squad, you have to take that and divest it into 2 parts. Yes, the transfer work may not have been great, which leads us to this. And yes, they're good players, and Unai Emery wants them to play. That's all that really matters. Both of those can be 100% true. And this is the side of, yes, they're good players, and Unai Emery wants them to play. And that has us third in the league with 33 points after giving the league a 5-game head start. So I love it. I love that venture, and you've actually just got me excited to see if something will happen in January as well. Right. I am going to leave it at that. Spoken for 35 minutes on my own, which is not abnormal, but I think I've made a bit more sense than sometimes I've come on and spoke for 35 minutes on my own. I know that Dan Bardell went live at full time. I think the Claret and Blue guys went live at full time as well. Please go watch all the Villa podcasts. I'm just conscious of stepping on everyone's toes. There's a place for everybody, and everybody is a place, and everybody needs to watch all the Villa content, because this is an incredible run of form we're on. Nobody watching this has ever seen us do this before. It's never been seen before in the top flight. So please go watch all the Villa content you can. We've 7 days now to marinate in this. We've 7 days to marinate in an absolutely incredible November. What's been a brilliant December, and some tantalizing, mouth-watering games left to come. And we will be here with you the whole lot of the way. So thank you so much for your time. Probably come back again tomorrow and get Paddy's view on this game. Do a little debrief with him. I'm going to start doing, if I have time, I'm going to start doing some scouting on players I think would fit into this Aston Villa team. And then we'll be back before you know it with stuff for Manchester United. So yeah, keep smiling, keep the chest puffed out, keep wearing your Villa gear to work, to play, whatever it is. Have people come up, and if you're not living in around Birmingham, or even if you are, have people come up and pat you in the back and say, Villa are going great, aren't they? Because it's a bloody great place to be. So thanks so much, everybody, for your time. I can never give that back to you. Please give us a like. Please give us a thumbs up on this. And if you do watch or listen on YouTube, please consider just going. I don't even want you to go and listen to it again. Just go to the to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go in there, click on subscribe, click on follow, whatever it is. It's completely free. And maybe just leave a comment underneath as well, just to help us out in the algorithms as well. Costs you nothing to do, and we regularly get people ask us, how can we help you with the podcast? Simplest thing to do is the free things. You know, we're not in this for money or anything like that. It's great to get it. It helps us to keep the lights on. But the one thing I want you to do is I want you guys to do the free things, which are just give likes, thumbs up, and follow wherever you can on any of the platforms. And that'll be a great Christmas present for me. So thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate your time. We're out for another great Aston Villa win. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.